Okay, so today I want to look at how students should approach an exercise in the most effective way, simply from the perspective of language learning. So we disregard everything else. It is just we're only looking at how does it help their language learning right now and in the future. And of course, students are all individuals, but they still roughly fall into a couple of categories. And I picked out two students, and they are somewhat representative regarding the categories, especially student one. So, student one uh, is very hardworking, always seeks perfection, very diligent in whatever she does, and very reliable, listens to the instructions, reads the instructions. So, in many ways, a fantastic student. But this is also to help her um, do better, and I will explain a little bit what didn't necessarily go wrong, but um, where she did not use the exercise to the full potential, which is partially the fault of the exercise, partially the way that she approaches exercises and the way that she thinks about exercises. So unfortunately, the students are absent now, and I don't have their activity books. There was a previous exercise that she had done where I could see that she wasn't comfortable. So little bit of a nervous breakdown. So I could see that something was wrong. I looked at the exercise. The exercise was kind of crossed out because I don't really want the students to use erasers. Of course, they're allowed if they want to, but they know that I prefer them not to erase. And this was the perfect example because I tried to talk to her about this exercise that I could see like tears already coming, so I didn't push too much because, of course, I don't want her to feel uncomfortable or anything. And at this point, I decided that the better option was just to reinforce a little bit, but basically let her deal with it at that stage more or less by herself. So I tried to emphasize that, I went through the basics again. Like we don't care about mistakes. Anyways, this exercise, everything was correct. Like she only thought that it was not correct and she had a breakdown. And I told her, like, look, these exercises are too difficult. You did a fantastic job. And on top of it, it is correct. And even if it weren't correct or if it hadn't been correct, like it wouldn't have mattered. Okay? But it didn't help. So they put this pressure onto themselves. It's kind of in the culture, like this kind of student who is this kind of perfectionist. Um, she picks that up very much in a way culturally. And yeah, yeah, it wasn't even wrong, and she simply thought it was wrong, and that was enough to to kind of make it hard on her. Um, yeah, I'm having a problem with the program, but it doesn't matter. So this student uh, was not using this exercise ideally. So in a way, she was testing for learning by heart. She was testing whether or not she was able to remember everything perfectly. And even though she did remember everything perfectly, she was unsure about some of the things. And no, oh, sorry, I messed up. So that was the old exercise. So now this is the new exercise. So let's look at the new exercise, and it's in some ways it's not an ideal exercise because it didn't encourage the students to approach the exercise in the most efficient way. Let me explain. Let me show you. So what this student did was so here's the text. You had to read the text and then fill out uh, the gaps. Like there are the sentences 1 to 8. Sentence 1 is an example. It's given. You can see the star. Family is the word that was missing. Are doing different things. And the first sentence is also the star family are doing different things. We talked about the exercise. The kids knew what they had to do. And out of the, I don't know, 8 or 9 students that I have, she was the first one to realize, hey, this is what you have to do. She told her neighbor that this is how you have to do the exercise. Again, like in her mind, how you have to do the exercises, and also the design in this exercise. I don't like it too much. So she understood that they are the same sentences, the sentences that are in the text and the sentences that are numbered 1 to 8, the gaps. They're basically the same or extremely similar. And all you have to do is replace the word that is missing, and it can easily be found in the text. And that's what she did. She even underlined it in different colors and she wrote it down. So beautifully done. Okay, I gave her a big star, or I usually tell the students to give themselves a star. But it didn't use the exercise fully. So basically here this exercise becomes even less than checking whether or not she learned the words by heart, which is already not the best. But here it basically comes down to copying. And copying words is, oof, I mean, in terms of learning them, there's not much learning going on. So that exercise is all correct, but learning, she didn't use this opportunity that she had to its full potential. Um, sorry, now I have to switch back to here. Uh, Now, if we go back to the exercise that I can't show where she had this nervous breakdown, now this becomes a problem in the following year. So now they are in year 2, and in year 3, I basically uh, push them into the deep, let them swim in the deep. You know, I throw them into the water and see if they can survive. And metaphorically, obviously. And so this student, without the right help, it could be a problem. It like the anxieties that arise, the stress that arise, the panic mode that sets in as soon as she feels overwhelmed, as soon as she feels, again, that's her perception. It doesn't even need to be the reality, as I showed in the, or as I explained in the first example, in the first exercise that she did. She just breaks down, and that's not, in a way that's not healthy, and in a way that's not ideal for their learning. It will become more clear when let's look at the second student. Um, so again, he broadly falls into a category. This category is, yeah, I guess also prevalent among the kids. In a way, it's a very boyish category, but there are also girls who fall into this category. Whereas the first category is also a very girlish category, but again, obviously not all girls and not all boys. But there is a certain tendency of those students who believe that that everything has to be perfect. It tends to be uh, more prevalent among the female students, and the more well, this kind of students. Let's look at this kind of student. So he wants to be challenged. He's also hardworking, and the very important thing is he understood that there is no need to be afraid of failure. As I tell the kids all the time, I want them to make mistakes. I have made other videos on this issue. Mistakes are important for most efficient learning. So he uses this opportunity, same exercise, to test for acquisition and to improve his confidence and resilience. And his thinking in this kind of exercise is, how will I survive in this environment with everything that I know? Like, he doesn't want help. He knows the text exists. He doesn't want to use the text here. He doesn't want to use the text. He wants to check, will I survive with my skills, with the text that is given here, the sentences 1 to 8, and the picture? Is that enough for me to survive? So he's kind of, in a way, he's making this exercise more difficult for himself. And again, if we push ourselves to our limit, we get the best learning results. And this kind of attitude will help us that later in the following year, when I will throw in year 3, when I will throw them into the deep, they will thrive in that environment. They are confident enough to understand, okay, this is difficult, but I will find my way. I will find a way to survive, to get through this maze, or to not drown in, let's say, this difficult text, or that I have to read, or that difficult video that I have to understand, or the difficult text that I have to write. And I'm not trying to remember words that I have learned by heart. I'm trying to access the vocabulary that exists in my brain and that now only needs to be activated. That is such an important difference. And again, I mean, there's like Krashen, who distinguishes between learned or learning and acquisition, and this is kind of what you see here also, this question of what how they are testing also themselves. So let's look at in a little bit more detail what he did. So the traditional teacher in the traditional setting would look at this exercise and would note that, okay, let's see, second sentence, Susie is drawing a picture of her Uncle Fred. Okay, that is still correct. It's in the sentence in the text and it's here, but it's clear from the picture. So that from he just, the difference is he remembered this one. So he tried to access, and in accessing his memory, a lot more learning is taking place than simply copying from the text. Uncle Fred is sleeping on the sofa. You see how he wrote sleeping. It is wrong. However, making these kind of mistakes, trying to access the word, trying to write the word down, there is so much more learning taking place than with the other student who most likely copied the word from the text. There's little to no learning taking place. So even though that this one is wrong, it is in terms of learning so much more important. Then we have Simon and his playing are in the garden. Now, the traditional teacher would just look at that's a mistake. Not only is playing the wrong word, it is completely misspelled. I look at that and say, excellent, well done, you tried your best. This again, let's remember these exercises are too difficult for them. We skipped like a whole year. We went from Kids Box 1 directly to Kids Box 3, skipping Kids Box 2. So these exercises are too difficult, which I want them exercises to be too difficult for the students, because I'm not looking at whether or not they succeed, I'm looking at how they fail. And the way that he failed, I enjoy, especially because I believe it is the most efficient when it comes to language learning. So now, because his brain is trying to access, is trying to understand like what he has to do in the sentence, is trying to access the word and is trying to spell the word, even though it is wrong, both spelled and it doesn't fit really into that sentence. The learning that takes place is amazing. Okay? And this is what needs to happen. We don't, when it comes to learning languages, and again, I've talked about interlanguage in a different video. This is what it looks like. This is what is supposed to be happening. It is not supposed to be correct at this stage. So, and he didn't just write a random word in here, like playing. I can understand why he wrote the word playing here, and I can understand that P-L-E-I-N-T is in fact playing. Okay, Simon is very tennis at sport. Again, I understand why he put tennis in here. I understand that he probably doesn't understand the word very, and he just saw sport and he saw the picture and he guessed, okay, he has to put the word tennis. Then we have the grandparents. Again, very nice that he remembered um, the word accent learning taking place. Grandma and Grandpa Star are in the dining room. Okay, that is correct again, and the children's parents correct again. So even though that here in this there's like 3 mistakes or so, that's an amazing job, and that is what we want to see, and that is the students using the exercise that is given and badly designed to its full potential. Simply copy like the design of the exercise that you can copy, it is not good in terms of the most efficient language learning. And so, yeah. Uh, and when this student then grows up and is confronted with real challenges and real language, be it like a book, be it a video, or whatever, or that they have to write the text, that is the right attitude. That is like, I'm going to survive. There is a lot of words that are in my head, and now I just have to try and learn how to access these words.